November 1942. A German officer walks the foggy streets of Copenhagen. A figure emerges, hand extended in greeting. Their hands clasp. 1 second later, the officer collapses dead. The killer is 3 streets away before anyone notices. Nobody heard the shot. The weapon looked like industrial pipe. No trigger guard, no elegant lines, no finish. The ugliest firearm ever issued to British forces. Also the deadliest covert weapon of the war. This is the story of the Welrod pistol and how British engineers created a gun so quiet it could murder during a handshake. The problem facing British intelligence in 1941 was brutally simple. Churchill had ordered the Special Operations Executive to set Europe ablaze. But when SOE agents needed to eliminate targets silently, the options were medieval. Knives required arm's reach. Garrots needed strength and positioning. Poison was unreliable. Conventional suppressed weapons were inadequate. The Sten reduced noise to 130 decibels, like a jackhammer. Standard suppressors achieved 120 decibels, still clearly audible across a street. SOE needed something impossible, a weapon quiet enough to fire in a crowded room. Simple enough never to malfunction, compact enough to disappear inside clothing. The task fell to Major Hugh Allen Reeves at Station 9, the Fryth Mansion near Welwyn Garden City. Reeves approached it as an acoustic engineer, not a gunsmith. Gunshot sound comes from 3 sources: propellant gases, supersonic bullet crack, and mechanical action. All 3 had to be eliminated. The team started with ammunition. Standard 9mm travels at 350 meters per second, above sound speed at 343 meters per second. The solution, .32 ACP with reduced charge, bringing velocity to 290 meters per second. Subsonic, silent in flight. Second problem, mechanical noise. Semi-automatics make noise cycling. The Welrod used bolt action, manually worked via a knurled knob. Slow but silent. Third challenge, propellant gases. The Welrod's integrated suppressor was revolutionary. 2/3 of the weapon's length consisted of baffles and expansion chambers. The 3.8-inch barrel had 20.6mm holes venting gases into chambers. Gases expanded gradually through 14 to 18 metal baffles separated by rubber wipes sealing around each bullet. The weapon measured 12 inches overall. The grip was a detachable rubber-wrapped magazine. 8 rounds for 32 ACP Mark II, 6 for 9mm Mark I. No trigger guard, no manufacturer marking. Only serial numbers and cryptic symbols. A sanitized weapon, untraceable if captured. The effect was extraordinary. In modern testing adhering to MIL STD FOM 1474D standards, the Welrod achieved a sound level of 122.8 decibels at the muzzle. But wartime OSS testing produced a figure of just 73 decibels. This is roughly equivalent to a vacuum cleaner at close range. For comparison, a standard 9mm pistol produces approximately 160 decibels. At 15 feet distance in a quiet environment, the Welrod's report was almost imperceptible. When the muzzle was placed in contact with the target, as the weapon was designed to be used, the sound became completely inaudible to nearby observers. The December 1943 manual issued with the weapons explained the intended use with clinical precision. The nose cap of the weapon is hollowed to enable an operator to place it tightly against the body of a person and fire. The noise is then still further reduced. This will allow the shooting of a man in a crowd with the minimum chance of detection. For this purpose, there is no question of any special training. The muzzle end was ground slightly concave to facilitate this contact shot, improving grip against the target and further muffling any sound. Production began late 1943 at Birmingham's Small Arms Company. Estimates suggest 2,800 wartime examples, perhaps 14,000 total, including post-war. Serial numbers were deliberately non-sequential to prevent production analysis. First operational use, Denmark. Welrods were airdropped to resistance movements across occupied Europe. The Danish Holger Danske group used them against German officers, Gestapo informants, and collaborators. On December 30th, 1943, the German-run Peter Group attempted to assassinate editor Christian Damm using 2 Welrods. 3 shots fired in his study. Damm survived despite critical injuries, but German investigators noted the suppressed shots created confusion about what occurred. Most telling, a French resistance member used a Welrod to assassinate an informer in a crowded bar and escaped undetected. The weapon's tubular appearance meant it could be disguised as a bicycle pump when disassembled. Operational records document use against German sentries during sabotage across Europe, from Denmark to Albania. SOE agents eliminated bridge and railway guards. Resistance fighters assassinated Gestapo agents. The weapon enabled impossible operations. If you're finding this deep dive into British covert weapons engineering interesting, subscribing helps the channel and ensures you don't miss the next one. The contrast with Allied equivalents reveals the Welrod's superiority. The American OSS adopted the high-standard HDM, a .22 caliber pistol achieving approximately 90 decibels. Quieter than most weapons, but the .22 long rifle lacked stopping power. Multiple shots were often required, and heavy winter clothing could defeat the round entirely. German forces never fielded effective suppressed weapons. Experimental MP40 suppressors tested at Kummersdorf in 1943 required special subsonic ammunition, never standardized for production. The fundamental German failure was physics. Standard 9mm parabellum created supersonic cracks no suppressor could eliminate. The specifications tell the story. The Welrod, 73 decibels, 32 ACP with adequate lethality. The high standard, HDM, 90 decibels, 22 caliber with questionable stopping power. German weapons, 115 plus decibels, supersonic ammunition. In silent killing, the Welrod stood alone. The weapon's limitations were acknowledged. Rubber wipes degraded after 10 to 15 rounds. Effective range, 25 to 30 yards daylight, less at night. Bolt action meant slow follow-up. But for contact distance assassination and sentry elimination, these were irrelevant. Post-war service proved enduring value. Welrods remained in use through Korea, Malaya, Northern Ireland. British SAS reportedly used them in the 1982 Falklands War. MACV SOG units employed them in Vietnam. CIA operatives carried them during the Cold War, reportedly used as recently as Desert Storm 1991. Examples survive at the Royal Armouries, Imperial War Museum, and private collections. Modern reproductions exceed $6,500, requiring dual NFA registration. The weapon's influence continues. The Swiss Brugger and Tomet VP9 directly copies the design philosophy: ported barrel, rubber wipes, bolt action. At 125 decibels, it's louder but remains among the quietest available. The Welrod established principles defining suppressor design today: subsonic ammunition, integrated design, eliminate mechanical noise. Modern expert assessments consistently rank the Welrod among the most effective suppressed weapons ever produced. Armament Research Services concludes, the Welrod remains close to the zenith of quiet operation in a shoulder arm. The combination of inherently subsonic ammunition, integral suppressor with massive internal volume, ported barrel and manual bolt action produced results modern weapons rarely match. November 1942, Copenhagen. A German officer extends his hand. An SOE agent clasps it. One muffled shot, 73 decibels, vacuum cleaner volume. The officer collapses. The agent walks away. Nobody heard, nobody saw. The weapon looked like pipe. Major Hugh Reeves at Station 9 created what no other nation achieved: a weapon killing in complete silence, transforming handshakes into executions, making every social interaction in occupied Europe potentially deadly for German officers. Between 2,800 and 14,000 produced. The exact number remains classified 8 decades later. Each one carried the same message. British intelligence could reach anyone, anywhere, anytime. The handshake that seemed friendly might be the last thing felt before a .32 ACP round stopped your heart. The December 1943 manual stated it plainly. This weapon allows shooting a man in a crowd with minimum detection. The Welrod proved the ugliest weapon can be deadliest, that British engineering under pressure creates innovations enemies cannot match, and that the quietest gun makes the loudest impact. That is the legacy of the pipe that let spies murder Gestapo officers while shaking their hands.